a little bit of a glare trying to fix this glare. I don't know where it's coming from. So the title of this video is Football and Reincarnation. And I'm going to start with football because it's probably not as important as the rest of the stuff that I want to talk about. But I just posted an article on my website, newsbuffet.com, titled Football, and I was expressing my opinions about the Ohio State-Michigan fight this weekend and just the targeting call in general. And I got to be honest with you, man. I'm really not on board with this whole targeting call because I'm going to tell you why. Let's start with targeting. So if you've played the game of football, then you know that it's more than likely, if you're making a tackle or you're running the ball, anytime that there's a collision, you know, you're almost always going to have some type of helmet-to-helmet contact. It's almost one of those things that sometimes are unavoidable, okay? It's not something that you think about while you're playing. You know, if you're running the ball and you see the tackler coming and you brace for the impact as you run and you make helmet-to-helmet contact. So it's almost impossible not to make helmet-to-helmet contact. Okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen several times throughout the games. I mean, it's almost impossible for you not to make helmet-to-helmet contact. Okay. So I don't agree with, and I have a problem with throwing people out of a game for making helmet-to-helmet contact. Okay? If you've ever played the game of football, then you know the game is played at high speed. There's a flow of the game. There's a natural flow of the game to the game. And when you're in the game and you're playing, there's a lot of things that you're not really thinking about. Now, on defense, I play defense, and defense, you know, you're supposed to play aggressive. You're supposed to attack and swarm to the ball. Attack and swarm to the ball. And you're supposed to hit the man with the ball as hard as you can possibly hit him. You want to hit him so hard that he doesn't want to carry the ball anymore. Okay? Let's not forget that football is a violent game. It's an aggressive game of high impact collisions. Okay? This isn't a game that was meant for there to be no contact. So when you're making a tackle, you want to punish the ball carrier. When you're running the ball, you want to punish the guy who's going to try to tackle you. That's the way the game is meant to be played. So while all of that's going on, you're going to have hits that are helmet to helmet. Now, to take somebody and to throw somebody out of a game for that, look, I understand you're trying to clean up and protect players against cheap shots. You're trying to protect players against unnecessary roughness, unnecessary hits that are like, you know, the ball's down the field and somebody hits somebody, you know, unnecessary. All of that stuff, I get it. You're trying to clean all that up. You don't want to see people taking unnecessary punishment when it's not necessary. But when the ball's in play and the contact has to do with the play, then you know what? If there's helmet-to-helmet contact made, I could see you throwing a 15-yard penalty, unnecessary roughness. I could see you doing that, you know, because you want to reinforce the thought to not make helmet-to-helmet contact. Okay, but by doing that, you're making people think. So there's going to be more injuries in the game by making people think. See, this is why I don't agree with that at all. But if you're going to go that route, I could see you throwing a 15-yard penalty. You know what? You have a locker room talk in the beginning of the season, which has always been done. You know, coaches and staff have talked to their players about making helmet-to-helmet contact. You know, you're not. You know, they tell you that there are dangers involved when you're leading with the head. Whether you're running the ball or you're tackling, you're supposed to keep your head up and your neck balled at all times. You're not supposed to drop your head down. So that's what you're taught. Okay. So that talk is good. Alerting players and waking players up to the dangers of leading with the head and hitting with the head is all good. I agree with the 15-yard penalty. You know what? Somebody comes in, they're playing super aggressive the way they're supposed to be played. They accidentally make helmet-to-helmet contact. You throw a 15-yard penalty, you move on with the game. To take that player now and to throw him out of the, and there's so much aggression and there's so much animosity behind the call too, because you could hear it in the referee's voice. Number 15 targeting, he's ejected. Like the referee is almost mad at the player for making helmet-to-helmet contact. And the people in the stands now are against the guy for making helmet-to-helmet contact. So by creating this fake call of targeting and giving the ref the power to throw somebody out of the game for making a hit that's almost unavoidable, you're now turning everybody against this person, right? So you're scapegoating this one person. He becomes like the Jesus of the football game. The guy that was sacrificed so the rest of the people can be comfortable and feel safe. That's just what we love to do in this country. We love to scapegoat people. We love to single that one person out and cast him out and make him feel like he's evil and he did wrong, because that makes everyone else feel safe. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the call. Look, targeting, there is hitting and tackling and going after somebody with the intent to hurt that person. If you're tackling somebody with the intent to hurt that person, that's targeting. There was an old football game, I think it was between the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. I think it was between the Bears and the Packers. And Jim McMahon is playing quarterback. And I think he throws the ball or he hands the ball off and he's standing in the backfield. And I think it was the guy from the Packers had him kind of wrapped up and they were both just standing there. And then he decides to pick McMahon up and slam him on his head. That's targeting. That's going after somebody with the intent to hurt that person. Making a tackle in the normal process of the game, that's not targeting. That is totally not targeting, and you're almost violating the game by making that call. Throw a 15-yard penalty, unnecessary roughness, and you hope for the player's sake that they get the message not to lead with the head because they can get hurt. Like you're overreaching. It's almost like you're parenting now, like you're playing the role of the police. And that's another issue that I'm going to get to. So I don't agree with targeting. It doesn't make sense. It's what you define as targeting isn't really targeting. It's a natural part of the game. Okay? It's a natural part of the game. Like I said, there's a difference between going after somebody with the intent to hurt that person, and there's a difference between that and making a tackle and making helmet-to-helmet contact. There's a complete and total difference. It's a key game. You got number 1 versus number 2 in the country. Somebody comes up, makes a tackle, they make helmet-to-helmet contact, he's gone. Best player in the game is now in the locker room because he made helmet-to-helmet contact. So we're actually punishing people for playing the game of football the way it was supposed to be played. I don't agree with it. And a lot of these rule changes are meant to go are against the defense. And one of the points that I was making was back in the day when there was no um, defenseless hitting a defensive player. Look, if the quarterback throws the ball down the field, it's the receiver's job to catch that ball. That's part of the game. Okay? So what defines you as a real good player and somebody that sacrifices and lays out for his team is the guy that goes over the middle and gets that ball. And you've changed it now to where he's got to be allowed to catch the ball. Like, you've taken away the timing of the good hit that separates the ball from the receiver. Again, you've interfered with the game. You're making people think before they go in to make a tackle. That's really not safe. But by making these rule changes, you really put the defense, the defensive units back against the wall. So, the receiver who would be afraid to lay out and catch that ball over the middle, he would be booed. He would be called a bitch. He would be called a pussy. And you know what? He would have to man up and catch that ball to shake that reputation. Now it's completely changed. So now when the guy on defense does his job and he makes that good hit, the entire stadium is booing him, because he just made a targeting hit. He's intentionally trying to hurt someone. He's a bad guy. The refs are mad at him. The fans are mad at him. Everybody in the world is just mad at him now because he made that hit. And, and he walks into the locker room with his head down. Three yards in a cloud of dust, quarterback under center, defense, running game. Look, man, I don't care how much you try to change this game to make it exciting for the fans. You'll notice that the teams that are good, the teams that win championships, are the teams that can run the ball and the teams that have good defense. If you don't have a good defense and you can't run the ball, then you can't control the clock. I mean, you need more than a quarterback and a receiver. I mean, you might as well have a 7-on-7 and put cones out there, and then we'll just throw it up. Hail Mary, pass to the end zone on every play. If we want to play to the crowd. You see, nobody really was able to appreciate that game last season between Notre Dame and Ohio State when Ohio State went to Notre Dame and won that game. You said it was boring. You put Kyle McCord's feet to the fire. By the way, Kyle McCord beat Miami this weekend. Kyle McCord and Syracuse beat number 6 or number 4, whatever they were at the time. Beat Miami this weekend, and I told you that it was going to be Ohio State's loss. Kyle McCord is one of the, if not the best quarterback in the country. He's probably one of them. And I'm not taking anything away from Syracuse as a team because they played great and it took a team effort to win. But you know what? You put Kyle McCord's feet to the fire. You said that he sucked because he wasn't getting Marvin Harrison Jr.'s son the ball. There wasn't a lot. It wasn't a big passing day. There wasn't a lot of exciting big plays. It was a defensive struggle, and McCord took Ohio State down the field with no time left to win that game. But those are the games. Those are the games. That's what football is all about, because you're in this situation now where your star receiver is being covered and the coverage is great. And you know what? The quarterback doesn't want to make a mistake and throw a ball into double coverage or any tight windows. So you know what? So you don't risk those plays because you don't want to turn the ball over because the games are that close. If you make a mistake, you turn the ball over, you put the ball on the ground, interception. Those are the things that decide these games when they're close. So to not do that, you hope that you can run the ball and you grind out the clock and you work your way down the field and you take what they give you, and you work your way down the field and you score. There's some times when you just can't throw the ball every play. You can't, you can. Sometimes people are covered, so you got to have the ability. And Syracuse had that. What LeQuint, whatever, can't think of his name right now, but number one, the running back for Syracuse. So Syracuse had that, and you know what? Syracuse defense stepped up in the second half of that game, and that's how Syracuse won that game. They were able to run but I'm not taking anything away, but their defense had to step up. That's the point that I'm making here. And so going back to what the point I was making about the rule changes, you're changing these rules because you think that you're making the game exciting for the audience and you're trying to play to the crowd, and they're really, the rules are destroying the game. Like the foundation of the game is being messed with, and I don't like it. Like they definitely need to make some changes in these rules. That targeting call needs to be revisited. It needs to be changed. Like I said, I understand that you're trying to protect, but when you're interfering with the game, it's like okay, like you have something that you want to protect, but you really can't hold on to it forever. You got to kind of let it go and hope that that it does the best it can. That's what football, like you can't be there, on every play and put a pillow in between the helmets, like before the people make contact. Like you can only educate people on how to tackle properly, how to not lead with their head, and hope that they don't get hurt and hope that they make the right decisions. You don't interfere with the game. So you got this targeting call that's going on now, and then on top of this, like let's get into the fight with. Look, the Ohio State Michigan brawl at the end of that game. It happens. It happens sometimes, especially in a game like Ohio State and Michigan. It's a rivalry game. It's a passionate game. There's a lot on the line. It's a game that you wait all year for. It's a must-win for the coaches. It's bragging rights. It's pride. It's everything. So losing the game is one thing, but to take a flag and stick it in the middle of the field and make that statement, and number 8 is calling Ohio State out and all of that, like you can't expect Ohio State to stand down on that, and that's not taught. But you know what? You're just look. You're fucking with the bull. You're going to get the horns. That's the best way to put it. And I love when I see that because that's what makes the rivalry game. That's why people show up to these rivalry games, because they're intense. There's a lot of emotion involved. There's a lot of passion involved, and like I said, nobody wants to see the game end that way. That's not what football's about. It's about sportsmanship. We all know that. It's about sportsmanship and respecting your opponent. But sometimes it happens. Nobody wants to see it. I believe that situations like that should be controlled by players, by coaching staffs, team personnel, the sideline referees. Like, there's no reason why police officers should be on the field macing football players and charging people with assault. Again, like, you've infiltrated this game so much that you're actually destroying it. Like, I love football and I grew up playing it, and you've made me not even want to watch it for the last 10 years. Like, you want to have police on the field. Police should be on the field to make sure that there's no fans jumping on the field. There's no fans interfering with the game. If, God forbid, a brawl breaks out between two teams, you don't want people running in from the stands to make things worse. So you have police presence on the field to stop people from interfering with the game. It isn't the police officer's job to interfere with the game. You're charging players with assault. You're locking people up. You're macing people like it's a riot. I mean, this is a controlled thing. It's a controlled game. It gets out of hand, but these guys aren't marching down the street breaking windows. I mean, nobody's breaking the law. It's like you're treating it like it's a crime. Like a crime is being committed. Too much, man. You're interfering too much with the game. And there's police officers that do that, because look, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm just going to say that, there's a lot of jealousy and there's a lot of envy towards college football players. So the cop that comes on the field, first of all, he's excited because he's on the field. So he goes home and he tells his wife, "Hey, guess what? I get to work on the field during the Ohio State Michigan game." He's all excited. His wife finally wants to fuck him for once because he actually is doing something that's exciting. Then he goes to the game, and now he's at the game and he's on the field and he's proud of himself. And a fight breaks out and he maces a player. Yeah, I maced number blah 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 during the fight. Like, it's such like a pride, like macho thing. Like, I just like, you shouldn't be interacting with players. You know what I mean? Like athletes that play college football at that level are on another level. You're a police officer, just be a police officer, man. It ain't really about like showing off, being macho. You're looking for your own bragging rights that you maced a player. Like, it's got nothing to do with you. It's not your day. It's not about you. It's about the players. It's about the game. It's about the schools that are involved. Like, stop. Like, just get off the gravy train now. Can we please just everybody just hop back off the gravy train? All these people that want to be involved. And I'm going to tell you something else. Like, I don't believe that you should be allowed to comment. You shouldn't be allowed to commentate for football, be a football journalist, or just you shouldn't be in that professional media atmosphere if you didn't play the game. I firmly believe that. I feel like all of those jobs should be reserved for the people who play the game. That's my opinion. So those are the three things that I have issues with football right now. There's too much infiltration in the game. There's too many people, with a hand in the pot. There's too many people that like, it's not about you. It's about the game. It's about the schools. It's about the players. It's about the cheerleaders. It's about the band. It's about the camaraderie of the programs involved. It's not about you. You're like an outsider looking to get in on something that you have no business getting in on. And we need to change the rules. We need to change that targeting call, because that targeting call is not accurate. You're punishing somebody for playing the game of football. That's really what you're doing. Now, moving on to reincarnation. So you could probably turn the video off at this point because you probably think that the important stuff has just been talked about, but we haven't even got to the most important part of this yet. But go ahead and turn it off, because I know that, the majority of people out here only care about football. You don't really care about anything else. And really, at this point, football is kind of meaningless. You know what I mean? I haven't played since 2002. That was my last year of college football. 2001 was my senior season. So I'm 44 now. And, there's other things that are more important in life besides football that, you'll learn that as you get older. So if you want to turn the video off now, turn it off. That's the point that I'm making. I'm going to continue on to talk about reincarnation now, because this is the most important part of this video. So I got a little upset with somebody yesterday because they made a comment about the fight. And the comment seemed derogatory towards something that was personal to me. And I'm glad that it was said, because it took me back to a time in high school. And I graduated high school in 1998. And that last night, well, before I went to sleep, well, for those of you who don't know, December 1st was yesterday. It was the night of yesterday was the new moon. Okay, so we started a brand new lunar cycle in Sagittarius last night. And like around 10:30, I was listening to him. I was meditating because I try to meditate on the nights of new moons and full moons. And I put on a guided meditation. I took a course called Reincarnation, and the course came with 5 meditations. Okay, it was 5 audio. Uh, I guess you can call them guided meditations, but it came with 5 audio, meditations. Okay, and the first one is called Past Life Regression. So all 5 of the meditations are about reincarnation, retrieving past lives, retrieving past life skills, past life regression, focusing on this life. So all 5 of them have to do with reincarnation. So I put on the guided meditation for past life regression. And I want to thank Christina Breeze. She's the one who made the audio, and the course is from the University of Metaphysical Sciences in California, and I have been a student there for a while. And she's not feeling well right now, but she's the one who does the meditation, or at least the meditations that I have. She does the meditations for the courses, so she's the one who speaks on the CD or the audio file. So she's not feeling well. I hope you feel better. So it was her audio that meditation that I was listening to last night, past life regression. And it starts up, and I'm not really in lotus position, but I'm sitting in my favorite chair. My posture is good, and my eyes are closed, and I'm focusing in. And she's going into the meditation, and it says, see what comes up for you. Not all your past lives are going to come up. Perhaps some of them will, but really what you're looking for is the past life that's most important for this life now. Okay. So she says that in the meditation, see which past life you could pull up, and she guides you through this where you leave the body and then you come back down and you try to visualize yourself in that life. And the intent there was to find the life that is most significant, the past life that's most relevant for this life now. During the meditation, I had a vision. It was a dark landscape on an angle, and you see the circle behind my head and this thing back here. Okay, the moon was like that big. It was bright, big, and yellow. It was a full moon, bright yellow. And I was looking at the landscape from a distance, so I was back. And across, like with the moon, the bright yellow moon in the background, I'm looking at a hill, and I could see like just, the trees and the hill. And, from where I'm looking at it, it just looks dark. So it looks like black on yellow because it's the bright yellow moon. And then the landscape is in front of the moon. But because I'm looking at it from such a far distance, it just appears black on yellow. So Barbara Hand Clow in her book Chiron says that it's the moon and the 4th house that knows who you truly are. So I just have that in the back of my mind. So here I am doing the past life regression. I have this vision of this big yellow moon, and I remember what I read in Chiron, written by Barbara Hand Clow, that the moon and the 4th house knows who you truly are. I went to sleep last night, and I had a dream that I was sitting lotus position with somebody that I played football in high school with. And we were looking at a plant, and there was a plant in front of us. It was like the root system of a plant in the ground and out of the ground. And we were sitting there watching it, and right before our very eyes, this plant was coming full bloom, dying, and coming back to life. Like it was going through its complete life cycle right before our very eyes. It was like, blooming, full bloom, dying, coming back to life. It was just this repeating cycle of life and death, right in front of us. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing so far. The comment that was made that kind of reminded me about high school football, the dream about the kid that I played football with, us sitting in front of this plant, the past life reincarnation meditation, the dream about the plant going through the process of life and death in front of us. A lot of synchronicity, a lot of coincidence going on. A lot, right? I wake up this morning and what eventually came up, or who came up for a past life regression, was Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus, or Gaius Octavius, first emperor of Rome. Now, I'm a little bit surprised that came back up because I already knew that. And that's something that I was shown, I think, a year or two ago during the summer. So I already knew that I was Gaius Octavius in a previous life. I already knew that. But that's what came up. And so the point in the meditation was to see which past life you could pull up, because that would be the most relevant for this lifetime. So that's why I was being shown this again, because that life is the most relevant for this lifetime. Now, I know that this sounds crazy, and I really don't care, because it's part of my mission in this life to talk to you about reincarnation, talk to you about my findings on reincarnation, and to kind of just put as much information out there that I can. Look, I don't care if you don't believe me. It doesn't matter to me what you think of me. If you think that this is not believable, and I could see the computer starting to glitch now. Because anytime, like if you talk about football and you talk about things that are pointless, if you talk about football and you talk about things that are pointless, there's no glitching and the video is clear and good. But the minute you start talking about reincarnation and things that are really important, then it starts glitching. So it doesn't bother me to talk about this, because part of my mission for this life is to talk about reincarnation. And before Jesus began his ministry, he traveled all over the world to learn different religions, to learn different scripture, to learn all the different ways and methods. And, that was what made him complete, is his knowledge of everything. And reincarnation comes to us from Buddhism and Hinduism. That's where we get reincarnation from. After the death of Jesus, Jesus taught a Christianity, we'll call it Christianity for argument's sake. Jesus taught a Christianity to his people. And that Christianity that he taught was completely changed after he died. So the Christianity that we, and the Bible and everything that we learn today and everything that we're taught today is not the same as what Jesus taught his followers before he died. And the suppression of reincarnation and the soul is part of what the church suppressed. Maybe 140 AD. I know by 300 and something AD and the Council of Nicaea, like they really put the laws down and their edicts and Justinian and the church did a hell of a job with suppressing the information about reincarnation. But the doctrine of reincarnation comes to us from Hinduism and Buddhism. And the soul is real. I heard that you have to earn it. You have to earn a soul. And I also heard that we're all born with a soul. And that's real. I believe that. And I believe that your soul will keep incarnating in a body until the soul wakes up. Okay? Until the soul reaches self-realization and has its awakening, it stays dormant in the body. And you go through these lives unaware that you've been living before until you reach the point where you're supposed to kind of wake up, because you're getting to that point where the soul has almost learned everything it needs to learn. So the soul's journey is real. The soul is real. Reincarnation is real. I believe in it. A lot of people don't. It was suppressed. People were forbidden to talk about it. But hey, this is 2024. This isn't 33 AD. The times have changed, and part of my mission and part in this life, and part of my purpose in this life is to share this information with you. Because you know what? God in the universe is making it so clear for me to see this stuff that it has to be for the purpose of sharing it. That's how I look at it. So the life of Gaius Octavius came up again, first ruler or emperor of Rome. And I explained to you guys that the South Node represents the past life, right? So the South Node in an astrology chart represents everything that you, first of all, the South Node is only active up until you're 20 years old, 20 or 21 years old. Okay, so the South Node is active up until that time. So from the time you're born until the time that you reach 20 years old, you're really dealing with old karma. So you bring into this life the skills that you need, the memory of the past lives that you need, maybe things that you missed that you loved or had an attachment to. You bring that with you so you can experience that again. Maybe lessons that you haven't learned that you need to finish up on. So the first 20 years of your life, the South Node is active, and you're kind of going through past life issues, old karma, tying up loose ends. And then once you hit 20 years old, you start to make your way towards the moon's north node, which represents the destiny or purpose, or highest destiny or purpose for this lifetime. Okay, so that's kind of how it works with the nodes. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. When I was in high school, I had a group of friends. Some people said that we were a gang, but we weren't really a gang. We were just a group of friends that hung out. We did have a name that we created for ourselves. And we hung out, and we had a good time. We got in some trouble. We got in some fights. I'm going to get to that in a second. But this is all relevant and important in the story. So 8/18/95, I was 15 years old. and we started this group in high school. It was only like 7 or 8 of us, and we used to just hang out. And we hung out sophomore year, junior year, going into my senior year. I got into a fight outside of school when we were on winter recess, and I got in trouble. I went to juvenile detention center. I was locked up for 8 days as a minor for this fight. This was in 1997 in December. I graduated high school in June or May of 1998, left for college, started double sessions at college for football, and then I had to come back for the trial, for the sentencing, because it was concluding. So this group that I was involved with, my group of friends, we got together 8/18/95. By the time I had to come back from college, I was in the middle of 2-a-days in college. It was training camp. I had to come back for sentencing, and sentencing was 8/18/98. We started it in 8/18/95, and it was officially over by 8/18/98. 3 years to the day. That wasn't planned. That was just how it worked out. And it came to an end on 8/18/95 because I had to make a decision at that point. These were my friends in high school. We were hanging out. We were getting older, junior year, senior year. We're getting into fights. We're getting to that age where we're crossing over the threshold from 17 years old to 18 years old, where you're no longer considered a minor, you're considered an adult at 18. My birthday was in February. So I had to make a decision at that point. Am I going to continue to hang out with my friends, get in trouble, and continue to spend time in jail? Or am I going to go to college, play football, and turn my life around? So my choice was to go to college, play football, and turn my life around. It was an inconvenience that I had to come back and deal with that court date in 1998 on the 18th of Augustus. But I had to come back and I had to deal with Augustus 1995, because that was the sentencing date for the incident that happened in December of 1997 on Christmas break. And I hope you're following this. Gaius Octavius died 8/19/14 AD. He was born on September 23rd, 63 BC. And he died on 8/19/14 AD. He died one day after the formation and the ending of this group. 8/18/95, we started it, and it came to an end in court 8/18/98, 3 years later to the day. Augustus Gaius Octavius died 8/19/14 AD. If you add 95 from 1995, 9 plus 5 is 14. So 8/18/95 is like 8/18/14. So he dies one day after, on the 19th. So if you remember what I was just saying about the South Node being active up until 20 years old, this being a past life regression. So so think about it in the context. It's actually literal and figurative in a sense. I'm in this life now, but I was him in a previous life. And part of this life deals with who you were, right? You have to so if the soul is on a journey, you're kind of continuing on. And that was a previous life. So already by me living this life, I'm already dealing with past life karma, past life issues, moving forward, being here now, being focused on the moment, being Francis Joseph Lamana in this life now. So I'm already putting that to the past and being who I am now. And then you have this incident in 8/18/95 that last 3 years to 8/18/98. And just think about how that played out. So I had to leave and come back to deal with something that happened in the past. So do you see how that actually played out? It actually played out like to where, yeah, I mean, that is true for what is going on in this life. And that's also true for what happened in a past life. Dealing with the past life issues in this life, dealing with the issues in this life. So that incident of me getting together with that group of friends really was telling a bigger story of what is going on the soul level. Because I had to come back from college, I had to leave football, I had to leave the future choice that I made to come back and deal with court for an issue that happened in my past. So not only does the date and all of this line up, but the lessons in this life are lining up. And there's something else that I'm not going to kind of get into because it's kind of hard for me to explain. It's like an astrology. I would have to break out the astrology books and I would have to go over everything with you. But it's clear to me who I was. I know who I was. I know what God is showing me. I know what I've seen in the meditations, what I've seen in my dreams, the life experiences that I've had. I could see the life's overlapping. I could see the lessons and the things that things are finally starting to become clear for me where I'm actually able to see what was, what is, and what will be. And that's kind of what I'm getting to. Like I'm Francis Joseph Lamana. I am, right? Is Francis Joseph Lamana, was Gaius Octavius, will be. This is like self-realization. This is like waking up, really waking up on the soul level. And so now what I'm getting to now is what will be, because it's already becoming clear who I was. I already know that life as the first emperor of Rome is the most important and has the most bearing on this life right now. That I already know. I have the proof that I need in the chart, astrology, the numerology, the dates lining up, the actual experiences that I'm having in my life. So it's all tying in. Now, this all leads to what will be. I used to show you guys a lot my birth chart because in my birth chart, in the tropical geocentric model of my birth chart, the moon's nodal axis aligns on the 29th degree of Aquarius in the 8th house, and the north node is on the 29th degree of Leo in the 2nd house. But the important thing about that alignment is the cusp between Pisces and Aquarius and the cusp between Virgo and Leo is what divides the zodiac in half according to the great year, the 25,920 year period, which is roughly 26,000 years. So the zodiac wheel is divided in half, 13,000 years, 13,000 years. One half of it is light, the other half of it is dark. So where my nodal axis aligns is also the marker for where time begins and time ends. It's 2024 right now. The age of Aquarius officially begins in 2100 AD. That's when the age of Pisces ends. Each astrological age is a 2,160 year period. The reason why the age of Aquarius begins in 2100 is because the age of Pisces began in 60 BC. Okay, so we went from BC years to AD years. So it's kind of like negative 60. So that's why it doesn't begin in 2160. It begins in 2100 because 60 of those years were in the BC time. Gaius was born 923-63 BC. So it's 2024, 2034, 2040, 2024, 2034, 2044, 2054. Let's see. 63 minus 24. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Is that 39 years? 24, 34, 44, 54. Yeah. So in 39 years, it's going to be 2063. Tw- 2063. So the 63 aligns with the 63 BC. Because from a millennia standpoint, we're already over the 2,000 year mark. Okay, so if the current time began in 1 AD, so 2,000 years, that's already the 2,000 year mark. And in the year 2000, we hit the 2,000 year mark. So 2063, we're going 63 years over the 2,000 year mark. So that aligns to the 63 before. So it's really 2,000 years. Okay. 63 BC to 2063 AD is officially 2,000 years. I believe that that's what is in the cards for me. I believe that I'll already be dead and gone, and I'm meant to come back for the 2063 birth to relive the life of Gaius Octavius. Only this time it's going to be 2063 instead of 63 BC. Before the new age, before the age of Aquarius. I don't know what America will be like by that time. Um, but I kind of feel that kind of dawned on me today. Like that kind of made sense. Now, I'm not one to make predictions. I'm not one to look into the future. But from the way this thing is lining up, I mean, it just seems like that's the case. Um, so I'm 44, 83. I'll be 83. If I live to 2063, I'll be 83 years old. If I die before then, I believe that I'll be reborn around that time uh, for the 2000 year um, for the return for the second coming of Gaius Octavius. It's going to be the second coming in 2063, and then that's how many? Let's see, 2100 minus 2063. 0, 10, 7. That'll be 37 years short of the age of Aquarius that begins in 2100. Can you imagine that? So this in between life is just about working and doing whatever, and then we're coming back to to start it all over again in 2063. The second coming of Gaius Octavius. That's kind of what I believe. And this whole thing is just it's tying in. Like, look, you can't, and then I get in my car and this morning and the songs on the radio are let's see what the songs on the radio were. I get into the car and it's 33 degrees and the time is 9:08. So it's like 1998, 33. And the songs on the radio is Behind Blue Eyes. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man. That's playing. But before that was that song Angel by Aerosmith. So all the synchronicities there, everything is kind of falling into place. It's on the radio, it's all in sync. And the personal experiences that I've had in this life up into 20. I mean, I could see it. I could see it, the connection between everything now, which is really helpful because what that's actually doing is it's starting. And this is why I don't want to get too concerned with the future because I'm finally starting to wrap up the past. So I don't really want to think about who I'm going to be, who I will return to be, what life will be like at that time. I want to focus on this life. And for me, I needed to clarify this because there was just a lot in dreams, a lot on my mind, a lot on my consciousness, just a whole bunch of stuff that like subconsciously and aware, like that I've been dealing with, that I've had questions that that can't be answered. These are questions that have to be answered through your personal spiritual path, you seeking self-awareness, you becoming whole. These aren't, you can't go to the doctor and ask the doctor these questions about past lives and rebirth. They don't deal with that stuff. Like, these are questions that got to be answered through prayer, through meditation, through fasting, through discipline, obedience, uh, just taking yourself and being alone, like isolating yourself and being in contemplation. So the answers that you really need are within you, and they'll be shown to you. And this is what I was waiting for. I was waiting for this because I needed to have, not that I was delaying my life until I learned this stuff, but it's almost like I'm moving ahead and then I go back and then I don't understand this. And then I take a step forward and I get pulled 3 steps behind, and this kind of doesn't make sense. And then I connect the dots between this and something that happened in my past. And now here I am having, to sit down and reflect on something that happened 20 years ago. Well, finally, it's all starting to get to the point where I could say, you know what? This is who I was. This is the life that I lived. And this is why I'm at the point that I'm at right now. This is why things played out the way that they did. This is why I didn't die in the year 2000 in a car accident that was so severe. I don't even know how long I was unconscious for, but you know, there's a reason why I was being kept alive, and I believe that part of that reason is it's all coming out now. Is to share this message with you and to achieve self awareness, possibly enlightenment. This is like a major thing, man. You know, not everybody achieves enlightenment, um, self awareness, immortality, the ascension process, mastering time and space, coming and going as you please, knowing who you were, knowing who you are, knowing who you will be. Like these are all the things that Jesus said that we were going to learn before the age of light. These were all the things that he was trying to teach us. Now, these are all the things that were suppressed by the early church. You know, he said, "What I do, all men will be able to do." You know, he was the living representation of what our capabilities were. And so, you know, we're getting to that time now where we're going to cross over into the age of light. And, you know, this is the time of awakening. You know, the last 60 years have been a time of awakening. You know, it's a gradual awakening process. And and so it's starting to make sense. And I think if you're not look, if you're not resonating with stuff, with your own spirituality, if you're not resonating with things and you're still in that category of people that I call forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do group. If you're still a part of that group, then you're not awake yet. If you're still if you don't understand the consequences of your actions, or you don't, you know, you just talk or you do things and you don't realize that what you do and say has a bigger effect on the world and the people around. If you're still blind to all that, then you're still sleeping. But I believe that probably people will begin to are going to either wake up, probably going to start waking up next life, right? Because if this awakening is gradual and it's got to be before we cross over into the age of Aquarius or into the beginning. So over the next 76 years, you know, if you're not awake this life, you'll probably be awake during the next life. That's kind of what I believe. I believe all of this is occurring for the entrance into the age of light. Um, yeah. So that's and you know the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I believe that it's part of my mission in life to tell you this, whether you believe it or not. I mean, I know this seems like alien UFO. This seems like way out there for some people. Some people can't even wrap their brains around this. Some people will watch this video and say, "Oh, this guy's crazy." Some people will resonate with this. I don't really care because to me it makes perfect sense. And that's the point that you have to get to where, you know what, you think that's crazy, but to me, you know, I've seen and been shown enough stuff to where that makes sense to me. You know, I've had enough dreams. God has shown me enough visions. You know, the synchronicities like this, you know, way too much falls in line for it not to be kind of true. That's how I'm looking at it now. So, like I said, though, that's my message to you that reincarnation is real, and it's not really about who I was because that's not important now. But you know what? It's good for you to know because now I know that the group of friends that I had in high school probably all, you know, Edgar Casey said that you reincarnate with if you have unresolved karma with people from past lives, you're gonna reincarnate with them until the karma's solved. And so now I know, like the people that are in my life now and the people that were in my life um, at that time, you know, lived a previous life, lived with me in a previous life. So, you know, it's good to know that because if, like I said before, you can't go to the doctors, you can't go to somebody to get answers about this stuff. The answers to these questions are found on your commitment to your spirituality. My path began in 2007, and that's from that time I've been committed to this journey. So I'm sharing the answers that I'm finding that are coming from within with everyone, because you know what? You might be experiencing something that you can't explain, or having dreams or having visions, or, you might be going through something that you can't explain and nobody has answers for. But because I took the time to share this with you, this might help maybe somebody make sense of something that they're experiencing in their life. And that's the good thing about this, is that no matter how crazy it sounds, like if people are sharing their stories, then the information's out there, you know? Like the first, when I saw that spiral in the center of the sun, like, who do you go to? I couldn't ask anybody what that was. They're like, you didn't see that. You're bullshitting. You're lying. I'm like, no, I swear to God. But nobody wants to hear that because they've never seen it. And so, you got to find people that have had experience, that have had and shared information about their own experiences, so that you could at least get some information on the stuff that you're seeing or experiencing that isn't mainstream. Because if it isn't mainstream and the majority isn't seeing it, then you know what? It's not going to be covered. That's the issue. When things are occult and things are hidden, it's, you got to kind of just, we count on people that share their stories. So when people are brave enough to step forward and share something, no matter how crazy it sounds, you have to appreciate that, because that information at some point will be useful to you. Not that it is now. Like I said, I've been following Barbara Hand Clow since 2007, but her information didn't start making sense to me until 2018. So, I mean, that's like 11 years after I first started reading her stuff. And it took all that time for me to say, oh my God, this is starting to make sense. So, yeah, you got to just, that's why I'm against the burning of books and all that, and I really don't like making videos or putting information on the internet, because all of this stuff can be erased. This could all be doctored up, they could take my face and put a different audio file on it. Like they could change everything, when the word's written, when you have the written word in hand and you have the book, then it's written once. It's going to be accurate. It can't be changed. The only way that they could destroy that is if they burn the book or get rid of the book. But if that book is written and those words are printed and that's in your hand, then that always will be. You can't change that daily. But I make these. But it helps to have these videos made and for people to come forward and make these videos, despite how outlandish and crazy the information sounds. Because, like I said, it's going to be useful to you at some point. It might not be now, but at some point it will be. So all of this going on with the new moon yesterday in Sagittarius, I bought purple candles because purple is the color for Sagittarius. So I bought purple candles to burn today. And this is an optimistic time. I did a moon scope on newsbuffet.com. You can check that out. This is a really optimistic time, and I'm encouraging people to not be afraid to branch out. It's about expansion. It's about being open to change. It's about doing more, going further, new experiences, and just trying different stuff so that we could put ourselves in a position to gain new experiences and learn new, just learn different stuff, learn new stuff, and have new and different experiences so that we can grow, because that's what you need to grow. You need challenging experiences to grow. You can't have the same old stagnant information. You got to have new information. You got to visit new places, talk to different people, eat different foods. You got to, that's what Sagittarius is about. It's about the openness and willingness to change and the enthusiasm to go about that and be enthusiastic and ambitious and to expand. That's what the arrow is. That arrow that is the symbol for Sagittarius that's on like an angle. They say that the arrow is really pointing away from the earthly condition and, the things that bother us on earth, and it's pointing to the higher realms, higher wisdom, higher learning. Yeah, so we're supposed to follow that arrow to the higher wisdom, higher learning, away from the human condition. So don't be afraid to get out there and explore, try new things, and be open and willing to change and taking on new experiences. And this whole thing, I hope it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But it's starting to make sense to me. And the thing that I wanted to tell you about was that before in this video, I said, you know what, I'm not even going to get into that because I would have to do a whole astrology lesson. In 1895, I think it was, Chiron had moved from its position where it was when I was born. So it moved from the position that it was in from where I was born. And in 1895, when me and my group of friends came together and formed that group officially, it was 1895. I think it was Chiron that was on the 26th degree of Virgo, which is where Saturn is when I was born. So if you're looking for something that's going to help you recognize these times, I noticed for me, when I went back and when I was doing the work and I went back and checked, Chiron was where Saturn was, had moved to where Saturn was. So Saturn is the planet of death. Has a lot to do with karma, past lives. It's old father time. So you're going to learn a lot from Saturn. It was the Saturn return that brought me astrology. It was right around the Saturn return when this spiritual path began for me. So, Saturn, you'll get a lot out of Saturn. A lot of information you'll get out of Saturn. All right, guys, it's 1:12. This video went over an hour. I can't believe that it's over an hour, but it is already. I got to eat something. I'm starving. Have a good day, everyone, and I'll talk to you later.